Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Ask Matt Lloyd. So right now I'm sitting here next to Chan, all the way from Singapore. He's one of our Diamond Mastermind members. He's here for his film day, and Chan has the question for today. So Chan, what do you want to know?
Yeah, okay. Hello, everyone. Day by day, I met a lot of college students. They just ask me because I will share with you guys. I'm an IT engineer. I work as an employee for about 15 years, and whenever I also the part-time instructor for the technical training, and I have a chance to meet a lot of students. And when they find on my Facebook that I become more member recently, I start my own online business recently, and they ask, "Wow, uh, how come you become the entrepreneur when you have nothing? You have no background about business. You have no training about the entrepreneurship. How can do that?" But actually, I would like to answer them, but I think the best person to answer them, I have to ask the successful entrepreneur like my mentor, my business partner, Matt Lloyd. So Matt, for those questions, for the students, they ask, okay, what is the challenges and what is the the knowledge and skills, advice for them, for the college student to who wants to become entrepreneur. So what would you advise them?
Okay, so you're asking me, so if someone's in college, they're a student, what advice do I have for them to become an entrepreneur? Great question. Before I was doing this, before I went and got into internet marketing and started doing MOB, I was actually at college. I was at the University of Western Australia in Perth, and this would have been late 2008, and then that's when I then got into internet marketing. And the very next year I dropped out in 2009. I was in my fourth year, and I was doing accounting and economics. Wasn't really taking a lot of it on board, but that's what I was doing. So I never graduated. But so I'm glad you asked. So if you're in college and you want to be an entrepreneur, first of all, I think that college has its value, especially if you want to become an employee, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's for some people. Being an entrepreneur is not for everyone. But if you do want to be an entrepreneur, I personally think there's not a lot that you can learn from just studying. Even if you're doing business and accounting like I was, I think there's no substitute for real world experience. I personally learned more in 6 months trying to run my own business than I did 4 years at college. That's just my personal belief. So first thing I would say is taking different jobs. When you're in college, it's really a time to work out what do you want to do for the rest of your life. And if you are going to be an entrepreneur, what sort of business do you want to start? So what I did is I was very determined, even back then, to become financially free. I took a lot of different jobs. I was constantly working, but I didn't just take the jobs for money. I took the jobs more to learn. Okay, so for example, I went and worked at a franchise called Wok in a Box, and I was the chef, which is quite funny if you know how bad my cooking skills are. But I was the guy with the wok cooking all the meals, and part of the reason I took that job, which I think only paid like $10 an hour, which in Australia is nothing. Part of the reason I took that job is I was learning about systems. I was reading books like Robert Kiyosaki books where he talks about leveraging systems and having systems do the work for you, and how wealthy people have systems do the work and they don't trade time for money. So I thought, I'm going to go and work at a franchise and see how everything works. So I did that for maybe a month and a half. I never really stayed at one job for too long. Another job, I went and worked as a waiter just to learn a little bit about the business and also to improve my own skills. Another time, I took a job where I was doing telemarketing. I was on the phone working on pure commission. We didn't get paid a base. So you went and did 2 weeks of training on all your scripts and what to say. And then you got set up in this little cubicle and you wore this headset, and it was one of those automatic dialers. So you'd be waiting there. Suddenly there's a person on the other end of the line, and we would have to try and sell them on joining the phone company that they had left. Okay, so if we got them to join back up, then we would get a commission. All right, so I took that job just to learn how to sell, and that was a really good job as well. I learned a lot. So for anyone who's at college, take a lot of different jobs and do it to learn. Do it to learn about different types of businesses, and also to see what you're interested in. You might come across one that you're really passionate about. Also, don't wait until you graduate before you actually start a business. Find a way to start a part-time business on the side. So what I did is I actually started a few. I started a gardening business, number one. I went and I handed out flyers in my local area. I handed out probably about 300, 400 flyers. And the flyer just said, if you have gardening jobs that you don't want to do, I'm available, I'm a student, and I'll come to your house for $15 an hour, call this number. So I got my first client, and then I learned how to get referrals, and before I knew it, I had more clients than I could handle. When I wasn't studying, I was doing gardening jobs, and I was saving every penny that I would make. So if I went and did a job for 3 hours and I got, say, $45 or $50, I would literally go to the bank that same day and I would deposit the money. And I did that for about 3 years straight. I had this one account where I never took a single withdrawal, not one. And all I did is I deposited my money into it, and it actually grew to a fairly substantial amount, which I then I invested over half of it into my first online venture in 2009, about $40,000. So start a business part-time. I had a few little businesses that I did, but start doing it right away while you're at college. What else would I say? When you're studying, if you decide you do want to be an entrepreneur, if you're really serious about it, you want to become a business owner, then your grades don't really matter. That's the truth. Okay, if you know, and I'm saying that you have to know 100% for sure that you're going to spend the rest of your life being an entrepreneur. And I knew that I wanted to be in business, so I knew that, yes, I likely will become an entrepreneur. If I didn't do that, I was going to go and work in finance. But if you know for sure, your grades don't really matter. So my point is, don't study to get great grades. Study to actually learn. And there's a big difference, because a lot of people, when they study, a lot of students, they won't study for most of the semester, and then they'll leave it to the very last week or 2 weeks, and then they will just cram. Okay, they'll try and cram as much information into their head as can fit. And the problem with cramming is that you can get your way through university doing that, but you don't retain the information. It doesn't sink in at a deep level. Okay, so you pass the exams, you get your grades, and you get through it, but at the end of it, after 3 or 4 years, you haven't really learned a lot. Okay, so I'm saying if you want to become an entrepreneur, study more to learn. When I was doing finance, I remember reading my textbooks, and even if I had an exam coming up, a week later, very often my studies would go off track. I would be reading and learning about things that I knew would not be in the exam, but I thought to myself, am I studying here to get a piece of paper at the end of it? Or am I studying for the information that I can actually use in my own business? So there's a fundamental difference with that. So study to actually learn, not for the good grades. I get a couple notes here. I just want to make sure I'm covering them all. One final thing. When you're at university, and even when you get out of university, if you want to be an entrepreneur, make sure you read a lot of autobiographies or even biographies of really successful entrepreneurs, people who became billionaires, for example. While I was at university, I started reading about Warren Buffett. And I read every book I could get my hands on about Warren Buffett, how he'd made his billion-dollar fortune. And the most impactful thing with that was I would have been about 21, 22 at the time. And Warren Buffett, when I was reading about his whole life story, I read about where he was at the age of 20 or 21. And I realized that there's really not much difference between where he's at in terms of his current wealth and where I'm at, or where he was at when he was 20. So Warren Buffett, for example, he didn't become a millionaire until he was the age of 30. And in his young 20s, he had about the same amount of money. He started out with about the same amount of money as I had when I was in my young 20s, which was not much at all. And I remember learning about that and just feeling very empowered by that and thinking, okay, if he can do it, if he can do it, and there's this outline here of what he did for the next 55 years, he's starting out roughly where I am. So if he can do it, therefore I think I too can get wealthy. And I didn't necessarily think that I could be as successful as he could, but I thought he started out where I am. I think I can follow somewhat in his footsteps a little bit. So I would learn about all these different billionaires, and I would just read their life journeys, and I found it very inspiring. And I also found that I started comparing myself to these billionaires and very successful people rather than my peers at university. I think a lot of people make the mistake of comparing themselves to what average people do, and the fact is average people don't do much at all. They don't really have big aspirations. They don't want to accomplish much in life. So if you compare yourself to average people, you're probably not going to go far in life. I started learning about really successful people, and those became the people that I wanted to emulate. So that was also very powerful. So anyone who's at college, I recommend you start doing that right away. That's about it. Does that help?
Yeah, so guys, according to Matt, okay, actually, what the 3 top advice Matt said, okay, actually you guys remember, if you are a college student now, okay, you study, but now you have to start doing your business along the way when you are in university, okay, you can try to improve your skill by doing a lot of job, okay, just getting experience by doing a lot of job in order to have the knowledge to build your business later. And the most important thing, you must learn and follow the successful entrepreneur story in order, okay, to don't ever compare yourself to average people. Just follow the leader, follow the top entrepreneur. And thank you, Matt, so much for your advice.
Thanks, Chen.
Yep.
All right, thanks a lot. So guys, if you have a question for me, you can go to askmattllloyd.com, opt in. I'll send you videos just like this every single day, and you can also ask me your questions there. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you tomorrow.
See you.